Adrian Vale had planned this for years. He was supposed to use her, break her carefully, make her pay for a debt she didn't even know existed, and then walk away untouched. That was the plan. But the moment she stepped into his world, nothing unfolded the way he expected. She didn't tremble the way others did. Didn't shrink under his stare. There was fire in her eyes, not fear. And that fire was dangerous, because instead of wanting to destroy her, he found himself wanting to keep her. And that was far worse. The Tower of Vale Industries pierced the Miami skyline like a shard of glass, reflecting sunlight over Biscayne Bay. Camila Reyes stood outside the entrance, holding her worn leather folder tightly against her chest. This wasn't just an interview, it was survival. Her mother's medical expenses had swallowed every cent she earned. Bills piled higher every month. Sleep had become a stranger. Desperation had become routine. Inside, the lobby gleamed with polished marble and quiet wealth. Camila felt every step of her heels echo like a reminder. You don't belong here. The receptionist glanced at her name, then made a quick call. Mr. Vale will see you himself. Top floor. Her heartbeat stumbled. She had expected HR, not the CEO. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending toward something inevitable. Mirrors surrounded her, reflecting the careful effort she had made. Crisp blouse, fitted skirt, hair neatly secured. She looked composed. She did not feel composed. When the doors opened, she stepped into an office that looked more like a private art gallery. Wide windows overlooking the ocean, minimalist design, cold elegance. And him. Adrian Vale stood near the glass wall, hands clasped behind his back, tall, controlled, tailored, charcoal suit fitting him like precision. When he turned, his gaze locked onto hers, sharp, assessing. Miss Reyes, he said smoothly. You're early. I value punctuality. A faint, unreadable smile touched his lips. So do I. She had no idea that walking into that office would change everything. She had no idea she had just stepped into a carefully set trap. And she definitely didn't know that Adrian Vale had been waiting for her. For 15 years. But the real question is, if you needed money to save your mother's life, how far would you be willing to fall? Adrian didn't ask her to sit. He simply watched her. That silence stretched longer than it should have. Calculated, deliberate. Camila felt it pressing against her skin, testing her composure. Your resume is impressive, he finally said, moving behind his desk. Top of your class. Strong recommendations. Overqualified for an assistant position. His voice wasn't complimentary. It was probing. Then why apply? He asked. Camila kept her chin level. Because I need the job. Need, he repeated softly. That's a dangerous word. He stepped closer now, slow and unhurried. How much? He asked. She stiffened. Excuse me? How much do you need? She hesitated, pride fighting desperation. But pride didn't pay hospital bills. $240,000, she admitted quietly. Not a flicker of shock crossed his face. That's significant. He turned away briefly, as if considering numbers on an invisible board. Then he faced her again. I'll give you triple the salary listed. Her breath caught. Triple. It would wipe out the debt. Give her mother real treatment. Real time. But nothing in his expression suggested generosity. What's the condition? She asked. A slow smile appeared. Not warm, not kind. You work exclusively for me. Late nights. Private assignments. No complaints. No questioning my methods. His eyes sharpened. And absolute loyalty. The air between them felt heavier now. That's it? She pressed. He leaned forward, palms resting on the desk. For now. Her instincts screamed caution. There was something beneath his tone, something personal. Why me? She asked. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Because some debts, he said calmly, are inherited. The word sent a chill down her spine. Before she could respond, he slid a contract across the desk. Her name was already printed. The salary amount made her pulse race. He had prepared this. He had expected her. Sign it, he said quietly. And everything changes. Her mind ran through consequences, risks, unknowns. But then she pictured her mother in a hospital bed, and she signed. The moment the pen left the paper, Adrian exhaled slowly, like a man completing a long-awaited move. You start tomorrow, he said. As she stood to leave, he added one final sentence. My father trusted someone once. It destroyed him. His gaze locked onto hers. Let's hope history doesn't repeat itself. Camila walked out with a contract in her bag. And the uneasy realization that she hadn't just accepted a job, she had stepped into someone else's unfinished revenge. But what she didn't know yet was whether she was the target or the weapon. Camila's first 2 weeks at Vale Industries felt less like employment and more like endurance training. Adrian was always there before her, always watching. He assigned tasks that should have required entire departments: financial restructures, risk evaluations, international contract reviews. Deadlines were impossible. Midnight, 3 a.m., dawn. And when she completed them, he dismantled them. Sloppy analysis. Your projections lack aggression. You think too safely. Nothing she did satisfied him. It wasn't about the work. It was about pressure, about seeing how long she could stand before she cracked. She adapted. 3 hours of sleep became normal. Coffee replaced food. She stopped reacting when he stood too close while reviewing reports, stopped flinching when his voice dropped low behind her shoulder. But her body noticed. The air shifted when he entered a room. Electricity sparked when their hands brushed over the same document, and he noticed that too. On the 12th night, long after most of the building had gone silent, he walked into his office carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of aged scotch. "Drink," he said simply. "I'm working," she replied without looking up. "You're always working." He placed the glass beside her laptop. She hesitated and then took a small sip. Heat spread down her throat. He watched her carefully. Then, without warning, he tilted the bottle. Amber liquid spilled across the stack of papers she had spent hours perfecting. The scent of expensive whiskey filled the room. "What are you doing?" she snapped, standing abruptly. "Accidents happen." It wasn't an accident. The liquid soaked into the thin fabric of her blouse, clinging to her skin. She became painfully aware of how transparent it had turned. His gaze dropped, held, then lifted slowly back to her eyes. "There's a shower in my private bathroom," he said calmly. "Unless you prefer walking through the lobby like that." Humiliation burned hotter than anger. He wanted to rattle her, to make her feel small. Instead, she walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and stared at herself in the mirror. This was a power move, so she would make one back. Minutes later, she stepped out wearing only her pencil skirt and black lace bra, chin lifted, eyes steady. Adrian froze. The room shifted. "You wanted control?" she asked evenly. "Here I am." For the first time since she'd met him, something in his expression cracked. Not fury, not satisfaction. Conflict? "You don't understand the game you're playing," he said roughly. "Then explain the rules." "There are no rules." And suddenly it didn't feel like revenge anymore. It felt like something far more dangerous. Because if control was slipping, who would lose first? And what happens when hatred starts turning into hunger? For a moment, neither of them moved. Camila stood in the middle of his office, wrapped in nothing but defiance and lace. Adrian looked like a man gripping the edge of control by his fingertips. "Put something on," he said finally, voice low, strained. "Why?" she asked calmly. "I thought discomfort was the lesson tonight." His jaw flexed. In 3 long strides he crossed the room, grabbed his suit jacket from the chair, and held it out to her. "Now." There was no cruelty in his tone this time. There was urgency. She slipped the jacket on. It swallowed her frame, warm from his body, carrying the scent of cedar and something darker. When she looked up again, he was gripping the edge of his desk, breathing harder than before. "You think this is revenge?" he asked quietly. "You think I brought you here just to intimidate you?" "Didn't you?" she challenged. His gaze sharpened, but this time it wasn't cold. "It was supposed to be simple," he admitted. "You needed money. I needed leverage." "Leverage for what?" Silence lingered between them. Then, "My father trusted your mother," Adrian said. She disappeared the same week federal investigators came knocking. "He lost everything: reputation, company shares, his will to keep fighting." The words weren't explosive. They were controlled. But beneath that control was something broken. "You think I'm her?" Camila whispered. "I think blood remembers," he replied. The accusation should have made her furious. Instead, something else surfaced. "You're terrified," she said softly. His eyes darkened. "Of what?" "That I'm not her." That hit, harder than anger ever could. For the first time, Adrian looked uncertain. "Revenge is clean," she continued carefully. "It has edges. It has direction. But this? She gestured subtly between them. This isn't clean. His breathing slowed. Not calm, controlled. You're not supposed to matter, he admitted. And yet you keep proving you're nothing like the woman I wanted to punish. The room felt smaller, quieter, dangerous in a new way. Then let me go, she said. His expression hardened again, but not completely. I can't. Can't, she repeated. Because if I let you walk out, he said, voice rougher now, I lose the only leverage I have over a past that ruined my family. She held his gaze. And if you keep me here? A long pause. Then I risk losing control over something else. That confession hung heavy in the air, because control was the one thing Adrian Vale never surrendered, until now. But what happens when a man built on revenge starts doubting the foundation of his hatred? And what will he choose? Justice. Or her? The invitation wasn't optional. It arrived the next afternoon in a black velvet box placed neatly on Camilla's desk. Inside lay a gown the color of deep crimson wine, silk that shimmered like liquid under light. The neckline dipped dangerously low. A slit climbed higher than modesty preferred. There was no note. There didn't need to be. At exactly 6:58 p.m., a message appeared on her phone. Be ready at 7. She stared at her reflection before leaving her apartment. The dress fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like it had been chosen with disturbing precision. When the knock came, her pulse quickened despite herself. Adrian stood outside dressed in a tailored black tuxedo, sharp and devastatingly composed. For a split second, his eyes swept over her. Slow, deliberate, and something possessive flickered there. Perfect, he murmured. The gala was hosted at the prestigious Varelli Museum overlooking the bay. All crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and billion-dollar conversations. Old money mingled with new empires. Adrian's hand rested firmly at the small of her back the entire time. Claiming, subtle, unmistakable. Relax, he whispered near her ear. Tonight you're with me. I'm here because of a contract, she replied quietly. His grip tightened slightly. A contract can mean many things. They were halfway through dinner when a silver-haired man approached their table, confidence radiating from him like perfume. Vale, he greeted smoothly. And who is this? Before Adrian could answer, Camila extended her hand. Camila Reyes. The stranger smiled. Dominic Harrow. She recognized the name instantly. Investment titan. Media darling. Adrian's longtime rival. Would you honor me with a dance? Dominic asked her. Adrian's jaw hardened. She's not available. Camila felt something inside her flare. Weeks of control, manipulation, pressure. She stood anyway. I'd love to. The tension was instant. Adrian didn't make a scene. He didn't need to. His eyes followed them onto the dance floor like a predator tracking movement. Dominic leaned closer as they moved. You enjoy provoking him? He asked quietly. I don't belong to him, she replied. Dominic's smile turned knowing. Tell him that. Before she could respond, Adrian appeared, cutting in without a word. His hand slid around her waist, firm and unyielding. You don't get to test me, he said under his breath as he led her away. Toward the terrace, overlooking the dark ocean. Moonlight reflected off the water. Music thumped faintly behind them. You wanted to make me jealous? He asked. I wanted to remind you I'm not your property. He stepped closer. Careful. Or what? His eyes dropped briefly to her lips before lifting again. Or I stop pretending this is still about revenge. Her heartbeat faltered. Because if this wasn't about revenge anymore, then what was it? And what happens when the line between punishment and desire finally disappears? The ocean breeze carried, the scent of salt and expensive perfume, across the terrace. Adrian didn't release her. His hand remained firm at her waist, fingers pressing just enough to remind her he could pull her closer. Or let her go. You think this is a game? He asked quietly. Camila lifted her chin. I think you don't like losing control. A muscle ticked in his jaw. I don't lose control. You just did. Silence cracked between them. Inside the ballroom, laughter and crystal glasses clinking continued as if nothing had shifted. But out here, something fundamental had. Adrian stepped closer. Dominic doesn't approach anything he doesn't want to acquire, he said. And I don't share. I'm not an asset, she shot back. You don't get to mark territory. His gaze darkened. You signed a contract. For a job, not ownership. The words hit, harder than either of them expected. For a moment he looked almost conflicted. Then his voice dropped lower. You want the truth? She held his stare. Yes. He exhaled slowly, like the admission cost him something. This was supposed to be simple. Your mother disappeared after destroying my father. I wanted someone to answer for that. I wanted someone to feel what I felt. And you chose me. Yes. The honesty was brutal. But you're not her, he continued, frustration lacing his tone. You don't manipulate. You don't run. You stand your ground. Maybe because I've been fighting my whole life, she said softly. His grip loosened slightly. I told myself keeping you close was strategy, he admitted. Leverage control. And now? And now I don't know if I want revenge or you. The air thickened. That wasn't desire wrapped in dominance. That was vulnerability slipping through cracks. Camilla's pulse raced, but not from fear. If you want revenge, she said carefully, prove my mother did what you think she did. His eyes flashed. You doubt me? I doubt stories built on grief. That landed deeper than any insult, because grief distorts memory. Grief rewrites truth. Adrian's breathing steadied. I have documents, he said finally. Proof. Then show me. A challenge, but not defiance this time. Partnership. Something shifted again. Something dangerous but different. Because if the truth came out, one of them would break. Either she would discover her mother was guilty, or he would discover he'd built his life on a lie. And if revenge collapses, what remains between two people who were never supposed to fall for each other? The drive back from the gala was silent. Not cold, not distant, just heavy. By the time they reached Adrian's penthouse office overlooking the dark stretch of Miami skyline, tension had shifted from attraction to something sharper. Truth. He walked straight to a locked drawer behind his desk and removed a thin black folder. This, he said, placing it in front of her, is what I built my life on. Camila opened it slowly. Bank transfers, offshore accounts, authorization signatures, her mother's name. Highlighted, circled, repeated. Her breath caught. This proves she moved money, Adrian said quietly. 50 million. Then vanished before federal investigators arrived. Camilla's hands trembled, not from fear but from disbelief. She flipped further. And then she saw it. Dates. The transfers continued. 3 weeks after her mother had already been hospitalized. 3 weeks after she'd suffered a documented stroke. Camila looked up sharply. These signatures don't match, she said. Adrian frowned. They were verified. No, she said, sliding 2 pages side by side. Look at the slant, the pressure, the looping on the R. Silence. Adrian leaned closer. And for the first time since he'd uncovered the files years ago, he really looked. The room seemed to tilt. She was in recovery when this transfer was made, Camila continued. She couldn't even hold a pen. A crack appeared in Adrian's certainty. If she didn't do this, he muttered. Then someone used her name. The realization was brutal. 15 years of rage, 15 years of revenge, built on something possibly fabricated. Adrian stepped back slowly, running a hand through his hair. My father never questioned it, he said hoarsely. He believed the investigation. He believed the betrayal. And you believed his grief, Camila said gently. He laughed once, hollow. I built an empire fueled by hatred, and almost destroyed someone innocent because of it. Their eyes locked. No dominance now. No manipulation. Just raw awareness. You could walk away, she said softly. Let this end here. He studied her, not as leverage, not as punishment, but as a choice. If I walk away, he said quietly, I lose you. You never owned me, she replied. A faint, real smile touched his lips. No, but I'd like the chance to stand beside you. Not above, not over. Beside, the city lights flickered outside like distant constellations. The truth hadn't erased the past. It had just rewritten it, and now they stood at the edge of something neither of them had planned. Because revenge had created them, but truth might redefine them. And when hatred burns out, what rises from the ashes? Love, or something even stronger?